You're listening to the Sam and Ryan Show, 93.9 The Beat, Hawaii's #1 for hip-hop. We got a special guest joining us on the phone right now. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Mayor-elect R.Blangiardi, everybody.
Yes!
Rick, good morning.
Thank you, Ryan.
Welcome to the show. How you doing?
I'm well, thank you. You could drop the mayor-elect. I appreciate the courtesy or whatever. Just call me Rick here,
Yeah,
the show. How are you?
Mr. Blangiardi, you don't need to add more syllables to your long name. Right?
Well, congratulations.
It's already an alphabet, I know.
Congratulations on your very well-run campaign, Rick.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's been 2 weeks already since the election. I think, as I can tell you honestly, it's been the fastest 2 weeks of my life. It's been amazing. So, you work during that process, during a campaign, which proved to be pretty arduous because of COVID and the Zoom calls and all the other issues we try to deal with. And then it comes, and then boom, you're there, and it becomes suddenly you shift gears. It becomes a reality. But I'm proud of the way we ran our campaign. We won exactly as I'd hoped we would win. We won decisively, and we did it with class. We kept the people in the proper context that we're here to serve and the issues in front of us. And that's exactly how we want to run it going forward.
I got to ask you, Rick, I'm just curious, why would you want this job? It seems like it's such a stressful job, and especially during 2020, during these COVID times, such a crazy year. Why would anybody want to be in that seat you're in right now?
Well, I appreciate that question, and I'll be honest, I've said this before, I'll say it again, because where we are, I made this decision initially more with my heart than my head, and it came from a love of Hawaii. I've lived here since 1965. So much of my life has happened here. I grew up in the East Coast. That's why I sound like I fell off a food truck in the Bronx, but it's really a Cambridge, Massachusetts accent. But, this comes from love of place. This is a referendum on leadership, and this is all prior to COVID. I made the decision in December. In fact, I made the decision on December 27th, which would have been my mother's 100th birthday.
Wow.
And it was my mother who actually had everything to do with my coming to Hawaii. And in that spirit, I decided if she were alive today, she would have been proud for me to step forward and try to give back to a place that's given me so much. So I've had this love affair with Hawaii for 55 years. And so I just looked at it. A lot of people were urging me, said, what more do you have to prove in television, Rick? You still got plenty of gas in your tank. We need you to step out and be a leader. And I listened to that. And that was all pre-COVID. So obviously things have gotten redefined, but I have no regrets about having made this decision. I feel inspired by the opportunity and the privilege to lead at a moment in time like this. So I don't think I've ever felt a greater sense of responsibility to people than I feel now. And I've had a lot of jobs, big jobs, but everything is at stake. So that's why I'm doing it. I'm in a different place right now mentally than I've ever been before about the responsibility.
Well, Sam, Ryan, and Rick, I have to share with you a small story. Rick, I actually ran into you a few months back, and I congratulated you on your campaign. I said, my father, I grew up in politics, and I know how difficult it can be to be a part of a campaign. And you said nothing but kind things. You said, your father always told me that I should do this job, and which brings me to my point of you had to run a campaign during COVID, and you're going to go into office, with this. We're still in a pandemic right now. How are you going to approach this COVID-19 pandemic?
Well, I'm going to approach it with, just even today reading. Look, we've got to pay attention to the science. We have to be respectful of the fact that we have a dual threat happening here, which is something we've never experienced before, right? We've got to care for the public health and safety and well-being of our people. At the same time, the impact of this disease is killing our economy, especially our local economy, which when you talk about economies, that's just sort of a word. The reality is it's the people who are being impacted. It's people who've worked for decades and trying to run small businesses that have had to close those businesses now. There's a lot of fear and uncertainty and whatever. So I would tell you that I think this disease has, redefined the role of the mayor. I think it's going to be almost much more on the humanitarian relief aspect of it and trying to work with people as we used to say in broadcast when I was, when we had threats of hurricanes or whatever, prepare for the worst, hope for the best. I think we need to do that. We're going to have to be disciplined. I'm seeing the mandates coming out now or the request for people to wear masks. If we can get to that, that'll happen. We're getting better on the testing. I met with Gary Kurokawa last night about what's going on at the airport. I actually flew over to Kona this weekend for a quick dinner meeting with Mitch Roth, the newly elected mayor, and Billy Canoy. It was a great meeting. I'm so glad I went. And I actually found that travel, Neighbor Island, wasn't as inconveniencing as I thought it might be. And so I think we just have to work through a difficult challenge. It's imposing, its will on us, if you will. But we've got to just look. We need to be resilient people here. We need to be responsible, and I think the best I can do is say that I can't predict the future. We'll try to create it day by day, but I want to be aggressive, yet living with this disease at the same time respectful of the fact that this is something we've never seen before.
It's like we don't have to mention names, but boy, you were left a mess in certain areas. Anyway, what Sam said is like you got these shoes, big slipless fulfill, and I'm stoked to hear your enthusiasm and going forward talking about trying to deal with this coronavirus. I'm looking at this KITV article right now talking about like Hawaii has to spend $876 million of federal coronavirus relief in 6 weeks. It seems like. I know it's not you. You just stepped in there. But it's like we've got all this money that hasn't been spent. What are we going to do about this?
Well, I've had briefings. I spent more than 5 hours with Mayor Caldwell. I spent almost 2 hours last week with Governor Ige talking about those very issues, or that issue about distribution of funds.
Right.
I think that they're going to try to do everything they possibly can. That money's not going to get returned back to the federal government. I think both the city and state have plans to try to make sure that doesn't happen. We're going to need every penny of it here. But my biggest concern is about how do we get those monies to people, put the money in their hands. That's what people need right now. Yeah. And they don't need loans, they need grants. That's what a lot of this was designed to do. So, it's going to be about getting money. And so, look, here's the thing. I'm fighting a clock because all of that, theoretically, as of today, expires December 31st. So I'm not trying to say I have no voice in that. I'm just very hopeful that they'll get that done because that's the mandate.
Yeah, totally. Only 36% of that money has been used. Man, let's go. You need help spending that money? Call the Sam and Ryan Show. We're good at it.
I got some student loans to pay off. Like, listen, I got you.
Well, Rick Blangiardi, congratulations, man. Great campaign. Like Becky said, great campaign you ran. And we look forward to you making some change in Hawaii.
Yes.
Well, thank you. Well, that's the mandate. That's the idea here is to step in and just take things and go forward. And I think people are expecting us to get things done, and I fully intend to get things done.
There you go, folks. Rick Blangiardi, thank you so much, Rick. Appreciate it. Woo! Appreciate the time. 93.9 The Beat.
The Sam and Ryan Show, 6 to 10 weekday mornings. 93.9 The Beat.